if you focus on the customer, if you actually solve the problem and put out content, consistent daily content where you are offering that, you're going to see results, period.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 40 seconds, then we're going.
Never in the field of human conflict.
How do you measure such an astonishing moment in history?
You're listening to the bigQUEST podcast with Andy Murray. In a high-stakes, unpredictable world, every day is ripe with blue ocean adventures just waiting to be discovered. You need the mindset, the methods, and the motivation to lead with confidence into the unknown. Come along as we talk to today's top leaders, known for simplifying challenges, outsmarting variables, and inspiring greatness. Welcome to the bigQUEST podcast. Hi, Andy. How are you today?
Hey, great to be with you, Ben.
Well, today we're talking to Habib Salo. He and his brother are head of a fascinating company, a family-owned business called Young Nails that has grown into a global manufacturer of nail care products. Young Nails has over 5 million followers on social media, and today Habib is going to share some of how they've tripled their business in just a matter of months.
Yeah, you know, this is really an interesting story and one that came to me through James Orsini, who's been on our podcast, CEO Sasha Group, who's one of their clients. And what's interesting about it is that Young Nails was a traditional B2B type company, a manufacturer that provided to distributors and then to salons. And what Habib had done was basically transformed their company from a traditional manufacturer and marketer to something that created a real close customer intimacy through the digital platforms and content. And it's one that's really hard to do. Most companies either start organically and then grow from there, but to have a physical traditional type manufacturer go to a completely what feels like a pure play almost is quite impressive. And so I don't think I've met a person, by the way, with Habib that wakes up every day with the hunger and drive and passion and clarity of what he's about, which is trying to solve customer problems. So it's an impressive story, one a lot of people can learn from, and I'm excited for us to jump in.
All right, let's listen in.
So hi, Habib. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Andy. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks for joining me. I really have been looking forward to this conversation for some time. You and I had talked a while ago, and your story and your company is so interesting to me because I swear from the outside looking in, you guys are some kind of digital pure play with how you have built and done something in a very untraditional space of Young Nails. So maybe you just give me a bit of a background on Young Nails, and then a little bit about before you became, started in this transformation that you've been through.
Sure. Yeah. So we're a professional nail manufacturing company. So our model has traditionally, it's been, we manufacture professional nail products. Our end customer was the salon, and we would sell through distribution. So always through distributors, that's domestically, internationally. And then our distributors would then sell through to salons. Our marketing strategy traditionally has always been through trade magazines, and also it was through trade shows. So a lot of just meet and greet, hardcore in person, working the floor for 4 days straight, 12 hours before the show, after the show, meetings, connecting with salon owners, even new distributors for, more exposure of our product. And that's how we did things for a good 20 plus years. That was the model. That's how we grew. And, until about 3.5 years ago. And that's when everything kind of changed for us.
Yeah. Well, take me to that moment when it was clear that you needed to pivot.
So for me, it was, I just continued to hit this wall. And I knew we needed some kind of breakthrough. because our growth had stopped. And then I started to see this decline in our revenue. And even though we were investing a lot of money in marketing being the trade magazines and also trade shows, like our investment was huge. So despite that, our revenue was declining. So I thought we need a different, we need a change maybe in our, we need a new marketing manager, or I need to hire a firm. And for me, that was the answer, because I honestly, I didn't know which way to go. I was like, so I hired a marketing manager, it didn't work. I worked through 2 different marketing firms that charged me off in a leg, did not work. Consultants did not work. And it was my brother and I were on a, excuse me, my brother and I were coming back from a business trip, and we were in the airport, and we were sitting down, and I was on my phone, he was on his phone, and I looked up and I saw this older couple, probably in their, I don't know, maybe their 60s or 70s, and they were on their phones. And it just, that to me was the big light bulb moment. I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? We're running around the world, trade shows, magazines. And so that was the moment where I realized we have to be right here. We've got to be digital. We have to be somehow get our brand through the phones, on different platforms, social media, to communicate to an audience. And that was the change for me.
Well, what's interesting about that story is so many companies in your state that have been around a while and growing would tend to look, and I can speak from my own experience in retail, they look to what competitors are doing.
Right.
And it versus looking at, well, where's my blue ocean with the consumer, the customer? And, what kept you from looking at what were your competitors doing? Had anybody been doing what you've been doing and you're just copying a competitor, or was this something new that came from the customer?
So I tried that strategy. That strategy of what are my competitors doing, and and it's so funny you mentioned that, because what my competitors were doing is they continued to pound distribution channels. They continued to take up more shelf space. So my approach was so aggressive for years in getting more distribution, getting more stores, getting more big box retailers with our brand. And I was successful. We actually managed to have these massive chains take our brand, and we still weren't growing. So that's why, it was like I was hitting my head against a door, and I was like, why can't I, manage to grow despite all these efforts? And it was funny, because even though we were getting distribution, when you see my brand against my competitor's brand that has been on the shelves for like 20 years, and then my brand is new on the shelf, what I didn't realize is, like, the customer comes and they're looking at the shelf, they're going to pick what they've been picking for years. They have more
100%.
space, they have way more dollars, they have way more power, and I have like a small little, couple shelves. It's very difficult to communicate, and compete that way. So I tried that method, Andy. And so for me, it was, we have to do something. And I didn't know what it was until I was in the airport, and it hit me. And I realized we can be first. And this is kind of, we were, making videos. We had some idea of how to do it, because we were kind of early in YouTube as a company, but making a few videos here and there. It wasn't what we're doing now, but so we had, some experience, but for me, it was the only way. Like, once the light bulb went off, I had that realization. It was like, this is the absolute way. I had no doubts from then. It was like, oh my gosh. It was like I saw something so clear, and it made so much sense to me. and then that there was nobody doing it that was just a huge bonus on top.
Well, okay, let's stop here for a second too. You had no doubts, but you also had no data
Correct.
that said it was going to work. And so,
Correct.
but what you did have was conviction. It
Yeah.
sounds like, I mean, there's this absolute conviction. And did everyone else have the same epiphany, light bulb go on, and let's ditch the legacy, let's ditch the inertia of whatever we've been doing? Or, I have to assume you had to bring some people along on this journey, that followed your conviction without data, but no doubts.
Yes. So I had to go to my partners, which is my mom,
Yep.
my brother.
Yep.
And I have to hand it to them. They've always trusted me in really guiding the ship, setting
Yep.
the course for the company. And they, whether they agree with me or not, it's one of the positive things that we've had in our relationship is, excuse me, is they believe in my decision making. So I did have to convince them, and I did have to share with them like a basic strategy. And then also it wasn't so hard to convince them because I could present the data that we did have of what's not working. So I had that data. Look, we've tried all of this and the results show this is not working. So even though I don't have data on what I want to do,
you knew what it wasn't going to be.
Exactly. It was like process elimination. Like I went through and I've literally tried everything. And so this is the last thing to give a shot. And so they were on board. It did take convincing. I had to present my case and I had to let them know. But, I'm very lucky to be in a family business where my brother and my mom are like, you make that decision. We don't want that. We trust you. We're behind you.
Is that something that's through the culture of your company too, the way you guys operate? Is that something that's just part of the core value system of innovation, try things, let's go, let's get behind people?
Absolutely. If you ask even our marketing team, if you ask our operations team, one of the things about our culture is if you have an idea, let's try it. Yeah. Everybody knows like my answer is yes, like 99% of the time. Even like you ask, hey, Habib, can I try? If you say, can I try? The answer is yes. I don't care what follows.
Wow.
Because
that's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah. And what's interesting, Andy, is even though they know that, it's still, people are still kind of hesitant to try things because they're not because of me, but just because of this fear of being wrong or making a mistake. And it was, that to me has been one of the most interesting things because it makes me realize if you're in a culture that's not so open, I mean, nobody's going to try anything. First of all, you have the independent fear that wall that's there. And then on top of that, maybe the owners or whatever admin of the company is also like, no. It's really hard to get, any type of innovation going in a company. So, but it is part of our culture. And it's marketing, especially, everybody here knows you want to try something on social content, something new, like you don't even have to ask me, just go.
Yeah.
So it really is.
Well, when you had this idea and you started down that path, I mean, as any kind of new idea, you're going to have to slay a lot of dragons. Was there any one big barrier that you can recall that you said, okay, we can solve this, and then we can solve that and that and that? Does anything come to mind as your biggest challenge that you looked at and said, okay, we got to slay that dragon? Yeah.
For me, the biggest challenge was how am I going to make video content? Mm-hmm. I mean, plain and simple, it was, okay, I know we have to pump out content. How am I going to do that? Because I think this is one of the big challenges I see for a lot of companies is they don't know even how to start making video content or posting more. And there's this idea behind it. I'm guilty of this too. There's this idea behind you have to have the perfect camera, the perfect content. it's sort of the old model of where photo shoots would take 7, 8 hours, 10 hours. A commercial takes 3, 4 days with a budget of $2 million. And changing that into, look, on social media, you have to give value. It's not, people are not so concerned with how perfect everything looks. It's more of, they're going to consume it if you are giving value. And that is it's so hard to convince anyone of that. And even I had that initially. That was my big barrier of like, how am I going to do this? First of all, I don't even know how to make video. Second of all, is it going to look good? My gosh, the background is messy, or, the nail demonstrations have to be perfect. All of these things that I found don't matter. And in the end, I'm thankful that it's like my back is against the wall. I don't have a choice. I got to just start. And just
start it. It's interesting what you didn't say was your biggest barrier, which for many companies, it would have been even a bigger barrier than what you just said, which says a lot about how you guys work. And that is, you could have said, how am I going to know what our customers want? And that wasn't it. It was, how do I make this at a very high level of quality? You perceived, you had a misbelief it needed to be that high, but it was around the making of it, not, am I ever going to be like, do I understand what customers really want? It sounds like you had a culture or a way of getting close to you knew what the customers wanted. It's just, do I really have the machine and built and perfection and levels to deliver that?
Yeah.
Which is, I can't tell you how many companies have the bigger barrier, which is they don't have any idea. And so they just put out ads, or they put out, new items, and here it is. And there's no customer intimacy. If they started on this journey without understanding, you got to get close to understanding what customers want. And I'm just taking away from what you just said, that it's possible you did have that piece of some way getting close to customers.
Yeah. We've always had the ability to connect with our customers, like in person. So at trade shows, that's why we've always did so well at trade show. We always did well at trade shows, is because myself, our team, we were able to always connect with our customers on that personal level. So for me, I wasn't worried about, I knew we could, reach a level into intimacy through the content and eventually understand the needs on a much deeper level. I always believed that. So it wasn't so much a concern for me. It was just, and I believed, I don't want to say I knew, but I very much believed that this is the way to do it. So having that faith in, I've got to go digital all in, I will get to on a much deeper level. Eventually, I'm going to figure out, like, on a much deeper level, what are those needs of the customers? Because that's inherently already like part of the company DNA. We're whether we do trade shows or we do digital, our focus is always, what is it that you want and what you need ultimately? So I believed we were going to get there, even if it didn't get communicated through the digital in our, experimental try phase, in that beginning phase. Eventually we would figure it out and get there.
Well, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I am fishing a bit to understand the magic here, because it is quite a story. And so many other people have come up against these barriers and haven't really broken through, and you have. One of the things I think is so important in trying to go off on a quest like this is, don't think about the objective of how many or whatever, but think about what outcome you want your customer to have as a result of you solving their problems.
Right.
And it does feel like your content strategy is very much focused on, what is the outcome I want them to have? I want them to be able to apply nails in a better way. I want to solve some of their challenges. But how much do you think about, well, what's really the outcome I'm after here?
You, no pun intended, you nailed it. That is our content strategy, Andy. It is too often, I see companies putting out content on social, and it's like it looks like we're gonna take like a commercial that we've done on television, and we're just gonna put it on social.
Right.
The content marketing for me and what's worked for us is all about solving the customer's problem solving for them. And that's the value proposition. That's why they consume our content.
I love it.
I mean, honestly, that is how you connect on social media, plain and simple, is you solve their problem, and then they're going to continue to watch your content.
Yeah.
And the whole buy my product we have a very indirect, I always say we have a very indirect sales approach. It's never product first. It's customer first. We're going to solve your problem. And then if you give us a shot and buy our product later, we believe that you are going to be a very loyal customer, because you're not buying based on, any trickery or magic or like oohs and ahs. You're buying our product because we helped you solve a problem. And so now we've established trust. And then so if we establish trust and then you buy our product, the loyalty factor is through the ceiling. So
I could see, that is so good. And it is a deeper level of customer understanding, because a lot of advertising, once they get past the selling bit, you see a lot of influencer marketing where if I was in the nail business and I was doing what you're doing, I might be really tempted to just show them celebrities and influencers with beautiful nails. And that's it. And then maybe an ad or two thrown in there, but you don't do that. I mean, you do have some of that, but it's much, much more around solving their problem, teaching the customers that you have. And so it is a deeper level. And you could see where somebody new on this journey might just start wanting to put out beauty shots, even if it's not selling, just to inspire, thinking that's the best way.
Yeah, so we do have that also, right? We have an influencer strategy that is part of it. We also do, like, we partner with celebrities and fashion shows, high profile, that we're part of. We do all the nails for these fashion shows that are just, they're insane. But that's secondary for us. It's the icing on the cake for us. It's not the cake. The cake for us is value. It is solving their problem. It's almost so simple that I guess that's where the frustration can come sometimes, where when I'm trying to talk to another business owner and I'm telling them, they look at me like, come on, like there's no way that this could be it. And I'm like, if you focus on the customer, if you actually solve their problem and put out content, consistent daily content where you are offering that, you're going to see results, period.
See, that is great. One of the barriers I've heard, is that if we open up that channel to, say, Instagram or Facebook, we don't have a way to respond to customer. We want our customers coming in through the call centers. And because we can track them, we can log them, we can see if there's follow-up. But if they start putting comments everywhere and we don't respond, that's going to turn to a negative experience for them. So how much did you have to rethink your customer service side to catch those? Or do you monitor those channels for feedback and follow-up if a customer says, hey, this didn't work, I tried that?
So,
how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that is a great question, and it's a real conundrum for a lot of companies. I could see that.
Right.
And so in order to resolve that problem, we hired what we call a community manager. This community manager monitors all comments across all platforms. So I can say that the majority because when you open up all these platforms, that is true. Customer service questions come through comments, direct messages. They can come through email. All of a sudden, it's scattered. But what we do is we set up a community manager that basically creates like a funnel, and funnels all the customer service questions from direct messages to comments all the way down into a few emails within customer service, so that I can say that 99% of it gets taken care of.
That's great.
So we have like customer service through, we have a Facebook community where we see tons of questions come through. We funnel those to an email. We funnel them to, we have what we use on our website. We do customer service there, but all of it gets funneled. And it's really important to have a community manager that's tracking comments, so that you can pick up those customer service issues and resolve them.
That's great. And I'm going to, again, try to put words in your mouth a little bit, but I assume that when you started this journey day one on this path, that wasn't necessarily a problem that was going to be top of mind, or you probably didn't have a solution to, but you solved it when you got to it.
That's it.
And if you were to stack up all the problems, like a typical corporate planning project, you're going to give a 3-year planning thing, or there's some kind of timeline, and you try to get all the waterfall details down and answer all the questions before you get started. But you take them as they come, you solve them, you keep going. That's really what Agile's about. That's what a quest is. You need to get moved. You can't steer a parked car, and so you can't solve these problems all in one go. You've got to give yourself some time to go solve them along the way. So again, that particular problem's a big one, but it doesn't always show up when you get started because you don't know.
We didn't have that problem when we got started. To your point, we didn't hire a community manager until a year and a half ago. Coming up on 2 years. So the first year and a half, we didn't have that issue. And then as we were building, more followers, and the comments started coming in more and more and more in the DMs, we knew, okay, we have to hire, now it's time to hire a community manager so that we can make sure that everything is handled. So it is a build as we go. And especially since we didn't have any sort of anyone to follow on this. So
right.
For us, we really have to figure this out as we go, and we're building we built infrastructure around this now. We have a nice machine that's going, and we understand. Even when new platforms come out like TikTok, we understand how to sort of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the content strategy. This is we're going to handle comments. So all of it now gets handled much quicker, but that just comes with a little bit of experience, and then dealing with it as it comes, as you've said.
Yeah. Well, if you look at trying to do this at scale, like you guys are doing, there's a lot of things that you could be thinking about, like, the actual topics, all of these elements. But my experience has been workflow is a secret weapon superpower. And if you're just a full right brain, and Ben, don't get mad at me, but if you're a full right brain guy and don't have any left brain, Ben's got a lot of left brain, but if you, it's the creative community can get a bit frustrated by the processes. But if you don't have a good workflow in this environment to make it work, you'll just get ran over. And so how do you harmonize the importance of having a tight workflow that lets you do this at scale, and yet the creative urge to everything bit more bespoke, or not so much the process part of it?
So we have that took a little bit of time to figure out. And I want to say first, if you don't have a workflow, you're really hitting the nail on the head with this stuff, Andy. You will get consumed with so much chaos if you do not have a workflow, because a lot of people, when you start posting volume, it can feel so overwhelming so fast, and you can get lost in where am I posting, or what do I do? I've got YouTube, Snapchat, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram stories. When am I doing lives? I mean, you have to have logistics. And so we have structure. We had to set up structure, because as we were growing and starting to post on more platforms, we were getting lost. That's the truth. Because when you start putting out volume without knowing where stuff is going or having a solid workflow, you get lost in the chaos. So the creatives, I will say, for the most part, they're focused on being creative. And then our my videography and editing team, they've got more experience when it comes to workflow and setting that up. So and then we have some designers that are they do all the overlays on the creative.
Yeah.
They pretty much stick to the creative.
Right.
But like I'm a student of, I just love logistics. I love how things work. So I'm definitely involved in that process, but we had to set that up. And it wasn't easy. Once we set it up, now you're talking about scaling. It's not an issue at all. And on top of that, now that we have our workflow set up, we can pump out 50 to 70 pieces of content a day. And
unbelievable.
No, I have zero stress. It's because we have the flow. We have those processes dialed in, and everybody knows what they're doing.
The bigQUEST podcast with Andy Murray will return right after this break.
Today, more than ever, we need leaders who lead with the values of excellence, professionalism, innovation, and collegiality, which stand for EPIC. These are the values the Walton College of Business consistently demonstrate. I've worked with the Walton College as a business owner or executive for over 25 years, and I can tell you with certainty, the students we've hired, the exec ed programs, and the insights from their research have made an epic impact and continue to inspire me with new ways of thinking. Their vision to bring thought leadership to the challenges business face today, such as business integrity or how to be a customer-centric organization, that adds real value by creating conversations that connect people with organizations, faculty, industry, and practice. I put a link in the show notes to Dean Matt Waller's Be Epic podcast, where you'll hear stories and get great content that will inspire you to be epic.
We now return to the bigQUEST podcast with Andy Murray.
You're a very senior guy at the C-suite. How much do you know about how to do these steps? Did you delegate it all and just stay in a high-level leadership, or can you actually put your hands on things and get them done if you had to?
I did the majority of it in the beginning. I had my hands directly involved, and the reason is, first of all, there was nobody else to do it in the beginning, so I didn't have a choice. I had to.
Well, there's that. Yeah,
there's that. There's that part. But even as we started growing, I waited just a little bit before bringing people in because I wanted to. This is all new. There's nobody to follow that had already done it. So in my industry. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was, I have to learn this. And then once we start getting it down, I can train. I'll know how to hire. I'll know how to bring people in. I know what I'm looking for. So I had to get my hands dirty. So for the first 2 years, I literally was doing the shooting, the editing, Instagram stories. I had one other person help me with Instagram posts, but her and I were doing all of it. As we started to scale, at that point, I knew what I needed in terms of, okay, I'm going to offload just the videography portion, I'll do the editing. And then once we got an editor, it was funny when we brought in the editor on her first day, she's like, so you want to give me direction? And I was like, you know what? No, just do it. And this is how we're going to learn. Like, you just do it. And in my head, I was thinking, even if I'm not 100% like that, I like it, we're still going to post it. And then I'll tell her, hey, this is great, but if we could just dial this in a little bit more, this little bit more, but you keep doing it. And my gosh, not only did she pick it up like that, first of all, she's a pro, so she's way better than me. she has taken it to a whole another level. And now she's got total independence and complete control. And I trust her 1,000%. So it pulled me completely out of it. And so I'm not.
Well, the other thing you just said there that I've noticed on people taking on these kind of big quests and doing things is having people come in and not necessarily just cooperate or participate, but co-create. And you let her co-create, which people will commit to what they co-create, right? I mean, I don't know if you thought that through, but at the time, but it's like, if she does it the way you did it, it's personal for her. She's not just doing what Habib says. And if it's bad, then, well, that's what he told me to do, versus her investing herself in it. Was that part of the magic in your head?
In my head, it was because I've had experience historically. I'm a micromanager. I'm guilty of it historically, and it hasn't worked. I always had trouble scaling or bringing people in because it's exactly what you said. When they made a mistake, they didn't have ownership of it. So it's not my fault.
That's right.
So probably around 5 or 6 years ago, I started letting go, like letting things go and allowing people to make mistakes and develop. So I had the benefit of seeing that work. So when we brought her in, her name is Victoria. The first day, it was just like, you take it, it's yours, you do it, and then we'll talk about it after and together, and we'll look at how can we improve and make it better. And she had total ownership of it. It was like you said, it was she was doing the video, she was editing, it was hers. And now it's an unbelievable, like her color.
Now if you go in there and touch it, she's going to say it's mine.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't. I stay out of it. And what does that do for me? Obviously, it allows us to scale. I can like now I'm looking in the Twitch space. I'm looking in the gaming space, and how can we incorporate art found in gaming? And so I can focus on what I'm supposed to as a CEO, which is setting the vision for the company, growing the company in this digital space, this world, so now we're entering different zones, and it's getting really, really interesting.
Well, congratulations on that. I mean, I tell you, leaders that have been born to micromanage is so hard to change that habit, to let go, and knowing that letting go means it may not be the quality you wanted. And you're in this like death spiral you're pulling out of, and you're coming up, and you want to keep that momentum going. And it's just a whole mentality around it's okay to make mistakes, fail fast, and learn fast. I mean, that's just a powerful idea. One of the things that I think happens when you go on a big venture like what you're doing is that it's not necessarily what you find on the outside, on the other side of it, that is so interesting and new and can create growth, but it's what it does to you as a leader, how it changes you, and that's and the team, and it changes a team and the mindset on that. I mean, what if you look back, the kind of leader you were before you started this journey and versus where you are now? What are some of the things that's kind of like, this journey has changed me?
Oh my gosh! I mean, talk about I'm like a loss for words, because before this journey started, I not only a different leader, I was a different person. And I still had some of that micromanaging in me. I thought my way I thought my way is the best. And number two, you should be working as hard as me, even though I'm the owner and, you're an employee. And like, you should be putting in the 15 hours a day that I'm putting into this business. I had these really very interesting ideas of what a business owner and as a person too. And through this journey, as understanding how to scale the business has meant it's all about people. It's all about, first of all, I have to let go. I can't scale the business micromanaging. I can't focus on the vision and the journey and where Young Nails is going to go and setting the course if I'm so busy on how, someone is editing, like 2 seconds of a video I'm not happy about, and I want you to go back and recut it and change it. Letting go, trust, like really trusting people. And also, I used to be somebody that would lead with more, just I would get mad at things and show disappointment versus encouraging and saying, don't worry, like now I understand how important it is to make all these errors and let them own the mistakes. Because, and then really being the encouraging, like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, we're going to do this. I'm here to support you. What do you need from me? And I just, as a person, I can bring that out to my regular life too. Like that works in life, not just in my business.
Totally.
I've completely changed. It has.
That's great.
Yeah, it's had a huge impact on me, Andy.
That's great. I mean, you can still have ways to provide quality feedback. I know we were doing, when I was at ASDO, probably, I think about 12,000 pieces of creative a year. When you think about a big retailer, and I couldn't look at there's no way. But what I did do was every month or so, we'd do a one wall. We'd walk the wall. We just put up everything we did, or for a month or something like that, and then just take a look at it retrospectively and say, do we see any trends here of how we, how's our copy doing? How's the design? Are we feeling good about it? But not trying to do it in flow where you're approving and sending things back and, saying, what's wrong with you? This is, you just can't, or you become a monster. You become a monster because of the pressure and this pace and the trying to do it, but you still can send signals about quality and what you care about, but do it retrospectively and just pick it up on the next round going forward is the way I do it. So do you do any kind of walks, reviews and such of things?
Yes. So I try to consume as much of our content as possible. It's hard to consume all of it because we put out so much, but as I catch stuff, as I see stuff and catch something, I'll bring it back to the team and just say, hey, on this, just moving forward. It's exactly what you said. Moving forward.
Moving forward. Right.
I don't care. Like, it posted. Fine. Honestly, it doesn't bother me at all. Moving forward, let's do these for, the new style or whatever it is we're doing, but it's always moving forward. It's
okay. Do you have a story on one that you posted that you're like, oh, I can't believe we did that?
Many. I mean,
tell us one, please.
So there were, so I didn't actually post it, but this is a story I always tell. At the time, Tracy, she's our general manager, and at the time back, 3.5 years ago, she was posting on Instagram, and she was posting these pictures of nails. And I opened my phone, and I was like, "What are you posting?" Like, the quality of the pictures were awful. They were dark. Like, you couldn't see the nails. You couldn't see the hand. I was terrified. I called her and I said, you cannot post these pictures. This is terrible. And I want you to remove them. And her answer to me, this is one of those moments where it was a light bulb moment also. She said, Habib, have you looked at the pictures and seen how they've done? No, I don't care how they've done. They're terrible pictures. Well, people like them. So I started scrolling through on the phone with her. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's like tons of comments and so much engagement and likes. And she's like, go look at the ones that are perfect. And so I went to like the Photoshop nails and they did not perform well. And I was like, oh my gosh, I actually don't know. I thought I knew. I actually don't know what does well. The market is telling me. The market is the ultimate judge and jury. They're saying they like, they want real nails. They don't want the Photoshop stuff. They want like real salon nails. And it again, that was another moment where my perspective was shifted. And I was like, wow, I actually don't know what's good or not. I can have an opinion, but I got to post it to see where's the market. I have to post to get a feel for where the market is. I can't assume I know. And that's how we started on the path of like volume content, Andy, was by
That's brilliant. That's a total Gary V response to on the content will get you quality. It's not quality then content, and it's just such a mind bender for so many people.
It is. It's very, and it was for me too. Honestly, like I understand how it's very difficult to understand that, but you have to put it out to see what is the market vibing on, and then you get your feedback, and then you just start to dial it in. You dial the quality in. Oh, I see. They like this style of nails right now. Boom, boom, boom. We start dialing it in. We start just tweaking the content a little more narrow towards what the market wants. But you have to put it out to see. It's exactly right.
Was there any discussion as you guys were going through this strategy on what should go out as under Habib or under Young Nails? Like, how did you land on this approach that you're going to be pretty much a brand voice than necessarily an individual?
We did have that conversation, and the brand had much more. It was much more known. It was it was kind of established already. So building on the brand seemed like the most logical thing to do. And I put, ideally, it'd be great to do both, to build my personal brand and also the Young Nails brand. I work on my personal brand. I have my Instagram, my LinkedIn. I do that. But for me, honestly, the Young Nails brand is that's at the forefront. As time has opened up, I've been able to work on my personal brand a little bit more. And I want to start developing that a little bit more because, I want to start potentially getting into maybe different things down the road. And that would give me the opportunity to do so.
Well, you've got a great story to tell that goes beyond, in addition to Young Nails, in terms of how to teach and help people think through these concepts that are bigger than, well, I don't want to say bigger, but it's a different audience per se than the audience through Young Nails might reach on an everyday basis. I follow what you're doing to decipher, because I think you ship your organization. And so when I see your organization in those feeds, I'm counting, I'm looking through your feeds, I'm counting how many Instagram posts are doing this versus that. I'm categorizing it. I'm saying, because he knows something here. And how many times there's the sales, and it might be 1 in 7 or so might be, here's a new item or whatever. That's a salesy thing. And then the rest are value add.
Right.
And I think there's something to be learned by, looking at what people are talking about and trying to reverse engineer that.
Yeah, no, I love talking about that. And I love teaching or showing and sharing our experience to anybody that, is open to bringing that into their organization. And that would be the, why I am interested in kind of building a personal brand is to, like, there is a different audience for that, business owners and business people. And I'm very excited to start sharing that knowledge, in any way that I can, because I just can't. It's like even today, it's like, I see my mom and I see my brother, and we just go, this is insane what is happening with our company, the growth, and like just the growth of our company. It's beyond our wildest dreams.
That's crazy. Well, that's why I like your story, because it's not a lot of people have heard of it in the business community. In terms of what you've done. And it's a great example of a traditional company going through a digital transformation and coming out the other side and actually getting growth that's like crazy, unexpected growth.
Crazy, now, unexpected. Yes.
Yeah. So people that, like, if I was young enough to come work for you and join your team, what skills how would you evaluate does Andy have what it takes to be on my team?
Yeah.
Like, as you're looking at people.
That's another great question. So for us, it's not so much about what skills do you have, that's very secondary. It's communication. It is, we really try to get to know, it's hard to get to know somebody after like 2 interviews, a job interview. But our focus is the person. Who are you as a human being? And if you have the drive and desire to learn, well, then I believe you can learn anything, But more important than the skill. I mean, if you have basic like if we're hiring, let's say for in editing,
Yep.
and let's say you had just basic editing skills, and then there was another person that came in that like, special effects and can do set up sets and understands lighting. But the person that had just the basic, like if you were like, had very little experience, but had basic knowledge, but I was like, you know what? He's an amazing guy. I love him. I love his vibe and his energy. I'm hiring Andy 100% of the time. It's not even a question for me. And because the vibe and the culture, when someone is inspired, even if they have a basic fundamental, just knowledge in an area, if they're inspired, they're going to learn. They're going to figure it out and learn. But where we see long-term success in hiring our team, it's focusing on the person, on just very basics of who are you as a human being, and that's what I want to know, and that's how I hire.
Wow. That's great, man. That is super, super inspiring. Ben, you're a creative guy, was at Y&R as a creative director. And, how's all this strike you? I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I'm actually curious about, the impact this has had on your brand identity. I wonder, did you think of yourself as a product company? And it sounds almost like you're a marketing company now that happens to have a product to fulfill. What impact has transition had on you?
So that is a great question. We identified today as almost two companies in one, where we identify as a marketing company that sells nail products today. And you could literally drop, any we're actually looking at, Young Nails coffee. Like, I'm very passionate about coffee. We're actually looking at bringing in a coffee brand like Young Nails Coffee. Yeah, absolutely. Young Beans, exactly. We have the structure there, but it's because we do identify that way now. A marketing firm that just happens to sell nail products.
And so, if I could borrow some of the bigQUEST language, it's like your biggest problem that you're trying to solve for the customer, or your biggest outcome. There was a tectonic shift there in terms of how you looked at the company. So that's very interesting. I would like to hear, what you've talked about, a night and day shift. How do you quantify that? What are some of the things that you look at when you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're this?
So when I go out in the warehouse and I see that the entire logistics of our operations has changed from palletizing to, we have 7 different pack out stations now and then we have a full pick, pack, and ship area for individual orders. And I see racks coming in, picking, and then it goes through that machine, and we're continuing to develop that. That's one thing that's like, oh my gosh, look at us now. Like, we're a direct to consumer company. I mean, even in our operations, obviously when I look at the growth, that's the obvious one, is the growth in revenue. When I look at when we do a sale now, like a Black Friday sale, and it's what we used to do an entire year, we're doing in a week. That is, it's hard to, I'll tell you, not even an entire week. What we did in the first hour of the Black Friday sale is what we did in an entire year 3 years ago. That's where I took a screenshot of it because I couldn't believe it. I had my wife, I was like, honey, come here, watch this, just watch this. And then the clock hit 9. From 9 to 10, we did more in an hour than we did an entire year 3 years ago. And her jaw dropped, and I couldn't believe it. I took a screenshot of it because those are the things that tell me, okay, we're a different company, and this stuff works. It really works.
Can I ask you, this is also a big shift from B2B, not from B2B, but to add B2C, because you still have the big business on the distribution side. But then, from a marketer's perspective, that's a whole different kettle of fish. I mean, and so have you applied some of that same innovative thinking to customer emails, or because now you didn't really have a business in email marketing or connecting that. I mean, because a lot of people are chasing this and feel like the end game there is personalization one-to-one, but that adds a lot of complexity. Maybe that is the end game. I don't know. But I mean, how do you think about where marketing is going to go for you in terms of personalization and now building this new muscle of direct to consumer connection where you don't even have to use the platforms because you can connect them with email?
Yeah, we've had to really invest in integrating, like, so that our communications can happen in the most efficient way. So basically, like, from our Shopify all the way into our ERP system, it's all integrated. So that way we have complete visibility on people that are on an email list, but they're not a customer yet. People that have purchased in the last 30 days, 60 days, 180 days. People that have added product to cart, but have not purchased. We have visibility in, you've ordered this color nail polish, and 90% of the time, people usually buy this, but you didn't. Why? We have, so that when we do communicate with you, it is going to be more on a personal level because we have the data and the understanding. And then we even carry that out into our social media marketing because we have it set up that, we can see when somebody visits a product, we can see, you purchased, you added to cart but didn't buy, or maybe you haven't purchased in the last 6 months. And we can even communicate through advertising in social media, not even through email, hey, we'd love to see you back. Here's a 10, we could do that. Here's a 10% coupon. We usually don't do that, but
Sure.
We could. So because we've had to really invest in the technology on our community, on how the information is organized, that allows us to communicate with you in a more personal level. Like, what are you really looking for? What are your wants? You've bought this. Do you know that we have this? Or we see that, maybe you're not pairing certain products correctly. Let us send out to this group and see, make their salon experience better because we know this product goes really well with this. We can start to customize that. And we are doing that. We just keep adding, we just have a lot of visibility into our data.
That's great. Well, and I like the fact you use grouping and clustering to be able to trigger those and go after it. And then necessarily everything trying to get to one-to-one. I mean, that's a whole nother beast, but you probably could get there. I don't know.
And we, even though we do communicate in groups and clusters like that, the one-on-one, we still keep that open. So I still DM people directly. If I see a customer service issue, if they complain on one of our platforms, I'll DM them on Facebook and say, hey, it's Habib. Reach out to our customer service. They're going to take care of you. And that's all I got to say. And they're just like, oh my gosh, the owner actually DM'd me. And I do that. Greg does that. We still add that personal touch in there so that, because I never want to lose that. I never want to.
No, it's probably got a word of mouth effect too. That's pretty powerful, way beyond that. Not that you do it for that reason, but I mean, you could see the knock-on effect of that.
For sure.
Wow. Was there anything else that you'd like to share? I mean, this has been a masterclass actually in how to get close to a customer and take on a big quest. I just can't say enough of how impressed I've been with what you're doing. Thank
you so much, Andy. No, I'm just, I hope other companies are inspired to do the same. There's nothing that makes me happier than to see somebody take this on and see results for themselves. So I just hope that, if there's one person that listens to this and they take on the journey and see results, that would make me so happy. Well, there might be a few university students that will be looking for a job. The way you described it, it's a pretty compelling place to work. I can tell you that much. No, I'd love to talk to anybody about that. So be happy to do so. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Habib. This has been an amazing program. I really appreciate your thoughts, and good luck to you as you continue the journey. And let us know how we can help share the word of what you're doing and what you're learning, because there's a lot there to benefit from. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the bigQUEST podcast with Andy Murray. Make sure to head over to bigQUEST.com to download our free checklist to launch your own bigQUEST. On the website, you'll find resources and ideas around the method, mindset, and motivation concepts behind the bigQUEST framework. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment. We'd love to hear what resonated with you today. And if you want to share this podcast, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, Google Play, and anywhere you listen to audio. Our goal with this podcast is to help passionate leaders think differently and make meaningful change. Be sure to subscribe so you'll be notified when the next episode goes live. Until next time, I'm Ben Ortlip here with Andy Murray, reminding you to think big and quest on.